You know, Pro, most native-born Americans don't even know what's in our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, so expecting immigrants to know is a special kind of stupid.
True. Our parents and schools need to do a better job about teaching this crucial literature. Well, better late than never. Let's go ahead and start with the Declaration of Independence.
Wait, why do you have that?
Tacos!
A traditional Latin food that has been westernized, and in doing so has been completely assimilated into the American life. But should we do the same with the people? Tonight on TMF Debates, we're going to look at the two loudest sides surrounding the debate. Should you assimilate when you move to the USA? Clones will be played by Pro, who's adamant that you absolutely should become one with your new culture. And then we have Anti, who's certain that you can hold on to your original culture and supports acculturation rather than assimilation. If at any point you hear anything you agree or disagree with, please join the debate in the comments section down below. Tonight's debate will follow the traditional rules of opening statements, then verbal fisticuffs, and ending with closing remarks. But that won't be the end of the debate, so make sure you hit that notification bell down below so you're back here in 2 weeks when we conclude with our TMF middle ground. Now, let's get tonight started. Pro, what are your opening remarks?
Thank you, moderator. The world consists of a vast array of cultures spanning the entire globe, which is why those on the Pro can justly demand that whomever comes here must abandon their original culture in favor of this nation's unity and their own prosperity. The smallest imbalance could honestly mean this country's downfall. As Americans, we fly under one flag in our own language, and that leads to our own personal identity and culture. If we don't expect immigrants to adopt to the laws of the land when they move here, that state identity is in legitimate peril. Now, if one wants to hold to their original culture, that's fine. They just need to keep it at home and use our language, food choices, and clothing choices when they're out and about in America.
Thank you, Pro. Man, these tacos, I got a job to do. Anti, what are your opening remarks? Thank you, moderator. The world indeed is vast enough that it would be very short-sighted of us to believe that we cannot share the land that we reside upon. America is an unique nation, built upon the prospect of empowering anyone to achieve their dreams. Now, Pro may disagree, but the American dream should not have a prerequisite of being white and speaking English. By encouraging immigrants to come here and not relinquish their original identities, we are inviting them to empower our society in the most genuine way possible. Many studies have proven that diversity empowers a group rather than is a burden to them in the long run. Those of us on the anti do not understand what the issue is in respecting other people, especially when they are your neighbor. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself is a basic rule that, when not followed, is an extreme and inexcusable moral failing. Thank you for that, Anti. I can tell this is going to be a very charged debate, so you might want to grab some snacks like tacos! Well, audience, you have the Pro, you have the Anti, and now let's TMF debate.
What is so wrong about asking people to be courteous by learning the language and their new customs? To me, it's just basic human decency to learn the language if you took the time to move there. It'll ensure that not only will you know the laws of the land, but you'll also know your rights, which in America, we have plenty of important ones that protect our citizens. It seriously seems like an insult if someone comes here and doesn't want to assimilate, because honestly, we didn't have to let them in.
Excuse me? You know, there's nothing inherently wrong with one taking that learning and applying it to themselves. Where it becomes wrong, though, is when you insist they must surrender their previous personas purely in the hopes of blending in. We on the anti still believe that people can maintain their individuality and help ensure America's growth and success. Farming, fishing, food service, and many other industries rely on immigrant work. They help us function properly, and to that end, I believe that we should respect their wishes simply to acculturate rather than assimilate and lose their entire previous identity, especially if they're just seasonal workers.
You know, I love your point about how many jobs immigrants do because it only reinforces my stance that they should assimilate into American society.
That
Learning English will help their bosses and the customers connect to them more. And dressing like us will help them thrive in their positions. It may seem trivial, but these small steps towards total assimilation help immigrants tenfold to be more successful than those who don't. If someone wants to keep their own culture, fine, whatever. Again, just keep that at home. Because it's not just about blending in. This is a basic survival technique of adapting to your surroundings. When you go to Mount Everest, you pack and dress accordingly. You don't just walk up to the mountain and expect it to adjust its climate to you.
What? Societies are vastly more complex than a treacherous mountain. Even on your side, Pro, you all are not consistent with how much you judge an immigrant regardless of how much they've assimilated. Additionally, you can't put a time frame on someone learning a new language. Everyone learns at their own pace, and even if they do know English, why would they have to speak it every single time they're outside of their household? Meaning that even if they do assimilate, if they don't act how you want them to every single moment of every single day, you're going to be angry with them. There's no pleasing you people. It's perfectly natural and respectable for one to maintain an accent and their individuality. Acculturation would help an immigrant be as successful as full-on assimilation, so just leave them be.
Hello! We're in the information age. If anyone is truly responsible, they can get on a computer and research the key information of this nation before their migration. I believe the burden of adaptation should never be placed on those who are already here. There is no justification that I should have to speak or hear any other language besides English when traveling within the States. If they want to come here for a better life and success, then they need to learn our language and customs.
Whoa, getting a little racist, aren't we? Now, I agree with you that there's nothing wrong with one taking that time to learn a new language and the customs before they move to a place. However, it's important to remember that not every other country has the amenities that America does. Not everyone has a computer, and it should not be expected for them to go out of their way to do this either. People should be able to move to a new country, especially if they are fleeing from harm in their home country, and come and live without the pressure to assimilate as soon as possible. America is meant to be a multiracial society, and yes, while that means bringing in immigrants and everyone and coming together as Americans, that does not mean that they all have to become white, and that does not mean they all have to act the exact way that you expect them to.
If they felt the need to leave their own cultures, what makes you think we want their old customs here? You just want America to be war-torn, don't you? Yes, we are a nation of immigrants. But when they came over here, they joined America, and they respectively assimilated into the Union. Why do you propose such disunion in our country when it would be barely an inconvenience for them to learn English and dress accordingly?
Seriously, what do you not understand about embracing individuality to make America great? We do not need to whitewash every single aspect of our society just for you to have the most basic of comfort levels. Grow up and understand that the world does not need to revolve around your expectations.
My comfort level has nothing to do with it. This is about our nation's identity being in peril. We are supposed to be one nation, indivisible. And if a migrant comes over here and becomes a citizen and doesn't want to assimilate into America, how can you call them a true American deserving of rights?
You know, let's go ahead and cut it right there before you two get accustomed to yelling at each other some more. Can't even eat in peace. Anti, what are your closing remarks? I want to end by completely destroying Pro's argument by using an example of what if we move from state to state within the United States. Each state has their own traditions and values, And if we move to a state such as Maine, you'd never truly be a Mainer. They'd only ever count you as one. If you were born there, your parents were born there, their parents were born there, their parents, their parents, their parents, and so on and so on. And so no matter how much work you put into assimilating, you will never truly be called a Mainer. This is the same flawed ideology we find in Pro's insistence that Americans are white and English speaking. So why should we insist that immigrants come here from other nations and try to assimilate completely and do all of the work, learn our language, learn our customs, because in the end they will never truly be white. So why insist in the first place that they have to assimilate in a futile attempt to change the skin color? Excellent summation, Anti. Now, Pro, you're up. What are your closing remarks?
Think about this in the ways of a sport. Does it make much sense for one to transfer teams and still wear their old team's uniform? No, of course not. So why should we allow Anti to insist that immigrants should do the same? If you want to change countries and culture, whatever, all the power to you. But it needs to be done with the respect to your new society, which, by the way, doesn't have to let you in. Immigration is a privilege, and we should be treating it as such. Immigrants can contribute to their own success and the success of their nation because they do offer us a lot of economic support. But we need to ensure that everyone who migrates in here assimilates fully so our nation does not lose unity, does not lose strength, and the dream that everyone comes here to realize doesn't fade away.
Thank you for that wrap-up, Pro. And now, viewer, I hope you have a better understanding where these two sides are coming from when they start to debate, should you assimilate when you come to the USA? If you have any comments, whether you side with Anti, whether you side with Pro, whether you're somewhere in the middle, or if you just want to help me, please join the debate in that comment section down below. And now, let's wrap this episode up. Make sure you hit that notification bell down below, so make sure you're back here in 2 weeks to conclude with the TMF middle ground. And if you're watching this past the initial 2 weeks, just go ahead and click or tap right there now. And a huge thank you to my Patreon members for helping me bring safe debates to you and everyone you disagree with. As always, this has been TMF, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the time in whatever zone you find yourself. Toodles! Go get some tacos.